I'm picking up this energy where somebody's like, damn, I did it again. Like, damn, I messed up again. I did it again. Why do I keep on doing this? Why do I keep on messing everything up? It's like this energy where someone just feels like everything they touch turns to rust, not to gold. You know the Midas touch, everything I touch turns to gold? This person feels like everything they touch turns to rust. And for many of you, you may have fallen in love with this person, or it could just be a situation where you just know someone like this, or this could be you. Okay. Hello, I'm Mystic Alchemy. Thank you for being here. If you need anything from me, such as a healing conversation with me, or a coaching call, a reading, you can go to www.MNHONEYROSE.org, okay? And all of my books are down below as well. If you're interested, you can find them there. This person is stuck in a cycle. This person that just feels like they keep on messing up. Like, why do I keep messing up? Why is it that every time I get close to someone, I hurt them? Why is it every time I get close to someone, I hurt them? I keep hearing that over and over again, and it just feels like someone who, they know that they have a problem, but they just haven't faced it yet, and they keep on looping around in this karmic cycle that they can't seem to get out of. But the reason I feel that they can't get out of it is because they're not giving themselves enough time to step back and see what the problem is. They just continue to stay in the same ways. They do the same things, and they're annoyed because they're not getting a different result. It's like this person is actually tired of continuing to go through the same cycle over and over again. They're tired of it. But they haven't changed their group of people that they're around. And it just feels like that group of people are those people that bring them back through those same karmic cycles. So this person could have like a deep desire to want to stop doing something that's toxic, whatever that may be, no matter if it's like substance abuse or a certain behavior, even a certain perspective. And they're not thinking about the fact that it has a lot to do with the people that they mix with. Okay. Excuse me for a moment. They keep on like saying it's not that bad. They keep on finding reasons to continue to stay in the cycle. And then they hit rock bottom again. Something crazy will happen all over again. And they have to go through the same heartache and pain that they are inflicting on themselves. They're doing it to themselves, but it's hard for them to recognize it because they're so used to it. It's comfortable now. They're the only ones that can get themselves out of this karmic cycle, but if they don't walk out of it, and if they're not bold enough to say no when they need to say no, to let people know that they've been around the most, that they just can't be around them, or maybe for some of them, you don't even really need to give a reason why you can't be around them, because those same individuals that are stuck in that cycle, everybody's in a daze. It's like everybody is sleeping. Everybody is asleep. Nobody has awoken to their soul's cry and to their reason for being. So they're just moving. They're just moving around, but nothing's really happening. They don't have any concept in their mind of where they're going. There's just certain things, certain actions that they do on a regular basis, but those actions don't lead to growth. They lead to stagnancy and additional confusion. It's like they create layers of confusion. Also, reasons to be paranoid, I'm hearing. So some people, they just get themselves in trouble. They just start doing things that are just not good for them in any way. And they can end up in places where they don't want to be. I heard such as jail or 6 feet under, just because of this pattern, okay? And these choices to stay around these same people, knowing that what these people are doing that they're around, they're not really into it anymore. But it's almost like they don't even know what else to do with themselves. What else do I do? Since I've been doing this for so long, what else do I do now? How? You know? That feeling of just feeling so comfortable in this same way of living and way of moving that it's like some people, it could be you, but people, whoever is stuck in this cycle, they're angry at themselves. They're actually annoyed with themselves. Like, why do I keep on messing up? It's always my fault. And I feel like this could have a lot to do with shadow work, of course, because clearly there's something inside of them that's making them want to adopt the ways of someone who feels unsatisfied with themselves. So maybe someone could have told them, this person, you'll never amount to nothing. Or the one where, you know, their father made bad decisions, or their mother made bad decisions, or unfavorable, I don't want to say bad, but unfavorable decisions in life. So if the mother or father that actually has custody of that child told them as a child, oh, you're just going to be nothing, just like your mother or just like your father, that causes a wound to be on a child for a very long time. And they begin to align with that spell that was placed over their life unknowingly. They don't even realize that they're under a spell. Okay. They don't realize that they're under a spell that came from someone that they love and trust. So anytime someone that you love and trust tells you something, especially if it's crazy and demeaning and it's not true, you could easily begin to believe that and live by it, because someone that you love and trust, even though they're hurting you, they're still the one that takes care of you somewhat, because maybe it's not the best care for some people, but you still take it in as a person, because in our environment we learn from it, and we're like a sponge, and we soak up the information that we receive, no matter where it comes from. And it's either you're strong enough to reject what you feel is not right, or you just soak it all up. And as a child, it's hard to decipher what's good and bad for you, because you don't know any better yet. You're not, your consciousness is not complex enough to be able to decipher, or to be able to discern, to truly use discernment in such a way to allow it to guide you. A child doesn't have that yet. That's something that's acquired over time. Okay? So this is like a spell. See, these are the individuals that are under a spell. And they can't break it unless they hear something that makes their ears tingle. Every now and again, they'll come across someone that does that for them. You ever heard someone say, you know, I really appreciate that person because I spoke to them and they said something I never heard before, and they changed my life because now I look at things differently. Do you see how easy it is for us to break spells off of other people just by communicating what we know and what we understand? This is another reason why we need to work together instead of always finding a reason to argue. Because we don't realize that we can unlock each other. Yes, we are responsible for ourselves, and we do have to understand how to work autonomously and find our own independence so that we can know who we are as our own person. However, once you understand who you are and you are able to work autonomously successfully as well, you know, and you brought a sense of order, you're supposed to then bring that to the people around you, whoever it is, you know, whatever sector of the world you end up in, that you bring what you have to give. You know, that's like an offering towards the ascension, right? Okay. To be tricked into thinking that we're supposed to be like angry at each other, and arguing all the time, that's just going to keep everybody down and stuck in a rut. And then the ones who are trying to make it work are going to be struggling, because then there's going to be a larger group of individuals that want to fight. And so, yes, the fight is necessary. I just heard the fight is necessary. Yeah, we know it is. But then it's also, if there's no meeting of the minds, then could you actually win the fight? If you can't group together with those that you're meant to group with. Because you can't do it alone. You know, you can't do it alone. Whatever that is for you, like, even if you don't look at it in such a broad perspective, and you're just looking at your life on your own, there's many times when individuals go through things and it's hard for them to get through it on their own because they don't have the tools, and they don't realize that they could get the tools from someone else that has gone through what they've gone through, or just understand them from living in said environment. So the understanding goes a long way when someone is stuck under a spell that was placed on them by their environment or by someone that's very close to them that was just angry, and they didn't know any other way to express their pain, so they would pour, some parents pour their pain out onto their children. Okay. Some parents pour their pain out onto their children, and their children hold that pain and then pour it onto their children. And then it's like, that's a generational curse. Okay? So, if you have children, think about that. Think about how, if you don't handle your own pain, how you can end up pouring that onto your child or your children. And how, because you didn't choose to learn from mistakes that you've made, or learn to forgive yourself, or learn to face your demons, those demons will be passed on to your children and your children's children, and then you uphold the strength of a generational curse. Many times we see families, and it's like everybody, or most of the individuals in a family, they messed up in some way, because that's that generational curse that is upheld through the matriarch and patriarch not coming together to mend the broken within themselves, so that they don't make a mistake and pass it down to their children. And then when they gone, it's an on and on going thing. So if you have pain inside of you, and you have some children, or you want some, be responsible for your legacy. Be responsible. Just because your energy still lives through your children when you're gone, your energy still lives through your children. And when you're able to give good energy, even if they're not your children and they're your friends, people around you that are friends. If you get around the right people, I'm getting the message. There's some families that have generational curses on them, right? However, if someone marries into the family that has a purity to them, they can clean the bloodline of others. Now that sounds very deep. It's very deep, but it's a purification. It's like, I heard magic shrooms. It's like magical. It's magic. It's medicinal. Of someone who has pure energy. It's like infused with purity to then help change the minds of the people within that family. Yeah, it's like medicine. Some people in your life will be like medicine to you. Even if it's not like a marriage thing, even if it's a friendship, sometimes people will come into your life and they will be blessings because they were sent by God to you to be there for you in such a way to help you through hard times that you're going through, to help you see a different perspective. And sometimes you are that person that is like the saving grace for others, and you don't know it. Sometimes some of you are this person and you never know that you are someone's saving grace or the saving grace of a whole entire family, because that good energy begins to ripple through the family and cleanse the minds that have been contaminated with toxic thinking and toxic ways that lead individuals to mental health issues and the confusion that separates a person from themselves. So many of you have that witchy ability. You know, they love to say witchy, witch. But it's just you're a healer. I'm like, no, you're a witch. You know, they always gotta demonize something. You're a witch. No, you're just a healer. That's all. That's all. You help people see things in the way in which you see it. And you're not forceful. It's just, look, this is how I see it. You know, hopefully that brings you to a place where you choose to make a decision that may be in alignment with what was said. But if not, at least you know it's an option for you. Because sometimes people don't have any options to pull from. They don't know. When you get stuck in a pattern, it's hard to see anything else. We lead by example, and we are also led by example. So if you don't have any examples around you, you're going to have a hard time seeing any other option, because you're just going to see the same old thing. So you're going to do the same old thing. So many of you are that person that's going to tell that person that's like, you're going to be real with them. You're going to say that same person that's like, I'm always messing up. Like, I'm always messing something up. It's always me. It's always my fault. First of all, the person must know that it's not all their fault. That's one thing. And because that's a heavy burden for someone to take on, thinking that, of course, it's partially their fault, because people always have a chance to make the choice not to do a thing. But it's easier said than done. And I say that because when you're running with those that do them things that they shouldn't do, that get people into some certain situations that they really don't want to be in, and you don't have anybody else to spend time with. Sometimes people don't want to be alone. They haven't found that in themselves to enjoy their alone time. It gets tricky and sticky. Life gets real tricky and sticky. And it takes time to come to a place of feeling so content with yourself. That does not happen overnight. You know, it doesn't. It's something that needs to be worked on. It has to cultivate within you to then be shared outwardly. So yeah, that's like one of the first things, is to let a person know, like, it wasn't all your fault. Like, you got here, you were listening to your parents, you experienced life the way you did because of the route that your parents chose to take, the environment that you're in. Maybe it wasn't the best. Some of you could have lived in a nice neighborhood, but your family's dysfunctional, and in the house is like chaotic, but when you walk out the door, it looks nice. Everything looks great. However, there's like traumatic experiences that have trickled down in your family, and everyone is affecting everyone in not the best way, or not the best ways. So it doesn't have to do, it just has to do with your upbringing and what you were taught, and opportunities around you. You know, that's what it really all boils down to. And your perception of yourself and your environment and society and the world. Many times it's the perception that harms us, and the disbelief in oneself, because some people don't see themselves in a good light, because all they ever heard in their life was bad things about themselves. So if someone says something good about them, they might not even believe it. They might be like, me, I'm a good person. No, I'm not. I'm horrible. And you see how I said that, right? If they're saying that out loud and they believe that, that's who they're going to live as. People need to recognize that that's not naturally you. That is the environment that you were placed in, and it made you, it molded you to be in such a way. So just know that people that go in those cycles and they're like, I'm always messing something up, I'm always doing that, they'll have a tendency to mistreat others because they were mistreated. So they're actually living out all that they know. That's all they know. That's why for those who have eyes to see, and you know what it is, that's why it's so important for you to speak. Say something. You know, because you see who I am and how I am. There's going to be some people that can't relate to me because for whatever reason they don't maybe they don't like me. They don't want to watch me, you know? But they might want to watch you because there's something about you that resonates with them. So they just need to hear you say it. You can say the same thing I'm saying in your own way. And there's a group of people that for whatever reason don't resonate with me, but they'll resonate with you, but they need you. And you know. But some of you might think that you can't speak about it or you don't want to. However, when you come to that point and you just know that what you're saying could help someone, just know that it is helpful if you do decide to show someone an option that they may have. It doesn't have to be forceful. It's not like you're telling somebody what to do, but just to know, just for me to know this, that people don't see options because they think that they don't have any, because they don't have any role model or any example of what else to do. They get stuck in these cycles. Which is why I believe like these types of conversations are healthy, and many other people need to hear them because they need another option or other options to choose from, because they're stuck in the same cycle, because they don't see anything else. It's so simple yet difficult. It's one of those things, simple, very simple. I see it, and I know many of you do as well. But it's difficult for someone whose mind is under restrictions from their beliefs about themselves and the world around them. So sometimes people think that change is difficult for them to take part in because they're like, I'm just my little me. How am I supposed to do anything to make a shift in society? That's crazy. Me? I can't do anything. However, people don't realize how powerful just their voice is, just from speaking and saying something that they know can help somebody. So it doesn't have to be on a massive scale. However, it could be on that ripple effect, no matter how small. If you see someone that is like, can I talk to you for a minute? And you just say yes, and you let them vent to you for 5 minutes, and you give them a kind word. You never know, you could have stopped that person from ending their life in just 5 minutes. 5 minutes. A moment of kindness goes a long way. I'm not trying to say go all in and go overboard trying to help everybody. That's not what I'm saying. However, when you have time and somebody comes up to you and they say, can I talk to you? Yes. Go ahead. Give them your ear for a moment. Many times people don't even really want to hear you talk so much. They just want to say something because they feel like they don't have nobody to talk to. Nobody to understand them. And individuals don't want to feel judged, man. This life is confusing. They don't want to be judged. They just want to talk to somebody so that they can just get it out, because there's so much that they need to say, but they don't have nobody to tell it to. And the people that are around them are the most judgmental, and usually that's family. That's very confusing, I know. However, if you could be that person, if you could choose to be that person that can give somebody that 5 minutes, you don't even know that you could extend your own life from doing such or giving such kindness, because it's like that person is also needed for something. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like we are all connected. We are all one. We're all connected to one another. You ever talk to somebody like, I'm so glad I talked to you today. I'm so glad. Sometimes people could be so down that they can make a mistake and do something that they didn't mean to do because they were out of their mind for a moment. They was out of their mind from depression, sadness, whatever. And they just spoke to you for 1 minute. You changed the trajectory of their whole day. And they could have ended up messing up, making a really bad mistake. Something that could affect them or others in a really harsh way. But because you gave them your grace and you passed some of your peace to them, just a little bit. You didn't get that much because you had to go, and they did too. But you gave them a little bit of peace and a smile and a kind word for a second. Changed the whole life. Didn't even know because you didn't take it that serious, but you don't even know. You see, it's so simple. These little tiny acts of kindness. I'm not talking about go all out, Look at it in a smaller increment of action taken, and it doesn't seem so overwhelming or so immense that, like, oh no, I can't do that, because I feel like sometimes people feel overwhelmed by such a task if it's looked at in that way. However, if it's just looked at like you just speaking to your brother or sister, it's like, oh yeah, I was just talking to them real quick, said a couple words, I said, it was cool. Bring it down a notch, and it's easier to, accept, appreciate the moment instead of trying to push it away. Because it don't even be that bad, but we be making things bad and making it bigger than it needs to be. When in a way it's big because you actually do a thing spiritually, because you're sowing good seed doing that. And then the individuals that you sow good seed into their mind, they then begin to grow that seed, and then they bear the fruit that you gave them, and then they start planting seeds in the minds of others. Do you see how it goes? But it's through regular healthy conversations. Isn't that just like, it's so simple and it's so innocent, because it's like, it's just humanity, and it's just life, and it's just connection, and it's just beautiful. So that's all I wanted to say. Just as sometimes you need to speak to someone, you're not the only one. Sometimes people want to speak to you too. And I think I'm going to end it right there, just like that. Yeah. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next message. Bye.